All set. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Adams. I would like to call the public hearing to order and have everyone stand to pledge the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to the public. This is our public hearing on the school safety plan, and it's an opportunity for us to ask questions and learn about the safety plan. There will be other opportunities when we go into our regular meeting for other questions and concerns. This public hearing is to address only the school safety plan at this point. So for those of you who haven't had a chance to meet him, this is Mr. Duty. He's our interim superintendent. I'm going to turn this part of the meeting over to Mr. Duty.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is a state education department regulation on a yearly basis. The Board of Education must hold a hearing and adopt the safety plan. This is a public document and it is extremely, very similar to last year. Our safety specialist from BOCES did make some updates regarding the pandemic that you all went through for the last 18 months. So it's up to date. And I would recommend that everyone is comfortable, the board adopts it this evening. Just for your information, we will be working on our building level safety plans. They are not public documents. They are confidential documents. And we'll be working on those with our principals, who will be reviewing those with our school staffs very early in the school year.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about the safety plan? Right? Nope. Is there any public questions or concerns? No. No. Bob, any questions or concerns? All right. So actually, the purpose of this hearing was to see if there were any questions and concerns. So if there isn't any further at this point, I'd like to close the public hearing component and move to our regular monthly meeting at 6:04. And before we do the consent agenda, I would like to entertain a motion for us to accept the school safety plan as presented. Heidi? I have a motion by Heidi, a second by Dan, to accept the school safety plan. Any further discussion?
I don't know if my email went through, but will it be edited? Because there's some,
There were some typos.
yes, yeah,
Yes.
some of the words in there, just like business, like colleges. There was some of those,
Okay.
what else, principals or something like that. So
Okay.
my
Yes,
I had like no service at my house, so I
Okay.
tried to. come through.
I saw your email.
Oh, okay,
Did
so
you-
it did go through.
okay, we'll double check that
Okay.
and make those edits as necessary.
Which would not change the intent of the
Correct.
document. Any further questions or concerns? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Does anyone wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? All right, entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. So, motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Jackie. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda, it includes the minutes from July 13th, July 14th, our regular meeting or organizational meeting on the 14th, our regular meeting on the 14th, special meeting on the 19th, and a special meeting on August 5th, treasurer's report, internal claim audit report, condition of accounts, and the surplus account. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. At this point, I would like to open the meeting to the public for any comments or questions before we start the rest of our business. Anybody have any? There will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting if there's any other questions. All right, there's no questions. Move on to the item communication. Please note, this just really, the first one is, please note that the monthly progress report from schoolhouse construction has been attached to the agenda. And we do have some thank you notes from the graduating seniors that are circulating amongst the board members. So thank you for that. There was one from Keenan Fraunhofer and there was one from Calvin Glover. So, then moving on to the next one, the reopening plan. Mr. Good.
Yes, thank you. I shared the document with the Board of Education, our recommendation for our Salem Washington Academy reopening plan. I think, as everybody knows, the governor's executive order ran out June 25th. Therefore, the Department of Health has indicated they have no authority to make any mandates. So unfortunately for school districts, we've received very little information in terms from public health and recommendations as in previous years. Last year, all school districts were required to formally adopt a reopening plan. This year, it's purely advisory. I've been in consultation with our school attorney, and our school attorney recommends very strongly that the board here in Salem should follow the recommendations of the CDC and public health. So with that in mind, I prepared a document for the board's review that really outlines how we plan to open school in September. Our goal is to have students in class on a daily basis, 100% of the time, 5 days a week at full capacity. We don't want any hybrid models or anything that we've had to go through in the past that all schools have been forced to do. We realize that it was a very difficult circumstance. We want to do everything in our power to avoid that for the upcoming year. Therefore, it's my recommendation that we adopt this reopening plan. One of the things that we have to understand that this will be a fluid document. And when I say a fluid document, as transmission rates throughout the county, locally, throughout Washington, if they change, this document could and will change. As we get ready to open school in just a few weeks, what we're presenting is as follows. Under the area of masking, indoors, masks will be required of all personnel, students, and visitors in the district, regardless of vaccination status, when students are present. So if there's students here, we should all be masked. We made that change a couple of weeks ago. Again, based on the recommendations from CDC for our summer program. Outdoor masks are not required. And frequent mask breaks will be provided to all students in grades K through 12. In the area of transportation, what people don't realize about transportation, we are governed by federal regulations when it comes to school bus transportation. And masks are mandated on school buses, and we would continue to go by that mandate. Buses may return to full capacity, and we'll try to maintain 3-foot spacings whenever we can. Assigned seats will be required for all students using our school transportation. The reason for that is to assist in contact tracing if a student becomes positive with COVID-19, and we turn that information over to Washington County Public Health, who will be advising us on how they are going to conduct their contact tracing. In this cafeteria, students may take their masks off to eat and drink. When done eating, masks must be worn. Students will sit with 3-foot spacing. We are working to add an additional third period lunch just so that we can increase the space. So we're doing some adjusting with our present secondary schedule. And again, as in all situations, we will have assigned seats to help with, or to cover the need for contact tracing if we do have a positive case. Under the area of vaccination, the district will continue to work with Washington County Department of Health to encourage students and staff to get vaccinated. We're in the process of holding a clinic for students and staff members who are eligible sometime after the school year starts, again, working with Washington County Public Health. I think it's important to understand that students or staff members are not required to quarantine if they come in contact with a positive case, as long as they've been vaccinated. So that information should be shared with our parents as much as we can, as long as the student is not symptomatic. So you may be in close contact for a period of time. If you're vaccinated and you don't become symptomatic, you will not be forced to quarantine, which is significantly different than last year. And last year, many schools had to go virtual simply because they ran out of staff members, either bus drivers or cafeteria workers or teachers, or a combination of all three. So hopefully this year, with the vaccination rates that we have, we're going to be able to limit that. Classrooms, as we said, windows will be open when possible. We will return to the 3-foot spacing rather than the 6-foot that we're obliged to cover last year. Seating charts will be maintained in classrooms to assist, again, with contact tracing. Increased ventilation, windows will be open whenever we can. The nice thing with your unit ventilators are going to be much more efficient and will be a better product for us. That should assist with the fresh air returns, and we'll have those open the maximum fresh air that we can. So that's certainly a real benefit. Under the area of athletics, the Adirondack League recently met. You don't have volleyball, so there's no indoor sports, but for outdoor sports, no one will be required as of right now to mask. Spectators will be allowed. They'll be encouraged to keep their distance as long as they've been vaccinated. There's no requirement for masking for spectators. Right now, Washington County is labeled as not a high transmission rate, but it's the next one. I think it's substantial. If it becomes a high transmission rate, interscholastic athletics for those higher risk sports, football is one. I believe volleyball is another. I don't know about field hockey and soccer. I don't think they are. They could be suspended. But from my conversations with area superintendents, you're not going to have to make that decision, at least in the fall, because we're merged with Cambridge for football. But my understanding is there's going to be very few schools that will postpone or suspend their sports unless there's a real tragic outbreak. So that's going to be a little bit different than what you had last year. Under health screenings, all staff will be required to submit a daily digital health screening. And I believe you did this last year. Students will be screened daily via the daily temperature check. And we will regularly remind parents to monitor their children at home. Any symptoms arise, keep their children home and contact their area or their family physician, for any COVID-19 symptoms. And again, under attendance, all students are expected to attend every day. We want them here every day, be in class every single day. Remote learning will only be provided if a student is under mandatory quarantine by Washington County Public Health. We want our kids here in school. This is where they belong. This is the best environment for them. And we're going to work very, very diligently to maintain a safe environment for them we want them here in school. Some of our daily cleaning, disinfecting procedures, all facilities will be cleaned daily. Classrooms will be disinfected as necessary. High volume touch points will be disinfected frequently throughout the day and each night. And again, with your upgrades, with your facilities in terms of your HVAC systems, we think we're in a better space than we were, certainly 18 months ago when this all started. Under parent visitations, parents will be allowed into school as long as they mask. We want parents here. We encourage them, but they must be masked regardless of their vaccination status. My plan, again, we don't need a formal adoption of this. I think this plan is probably very similar to all the other area school districts, and great uniformity throughout the area. We all work, there's probably 3 different law firms that we all work for or work for us, and those law firms are all pretty consistent in their recommendation of following this plan. My goal will be to get consent agreement from the board tonight that this is reasonable. This is how you would like us to proceed as of right date, to continue to monitor the transmission rates and make any adjustments as necessary. And I would like to send out a letter to our parents tomorrow or the following day, notifying them of this plan, and certainly ask them if they have questions, contact me, contact our principals. And we want to continue to work to get ready for the kids on September 8th. September 8th. And in fact, the kids will start being around next week because fall sports will start. So they'll be here before then. So what is the pleasure of the board?
Anyone have any questions or?
I have a question. Just a clarification, under the cafeteria, it says if exposed students within 6 feet of a positive individual may be quarantined. That's not probably just in the cafeteria. That's going to be the guidelines for the building anywhere inside. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, and then that would only apply to non-vaccinates. So vaccinates would.
That would only apply to students who are not vaccinated, correct?
And probably would apply. Does that, what would it be the same for staff as well?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And that's a good point, Bob. Right now, Washington County Public Health, they are working on their quarantine procedures, and they're unsure, and it has fluctuated to some degree. And I don't think they're entirely sure how it's going to work, other than as long as you're vaccinated, you're not going to have to quarantine. But they haven't come out with the hard, fast rules, and it's kind of has been a moving target. I think for whatever reason, they're hesitant to get hard, fast rules right now because things could change. And that 6 foot rule is it really should read 3 foot.
When the cafeteria,
Yes,
if exposed within 3 feet. Okay.
within 3 feet, 3 foot of a positive individual may be quarantined. Now, they probably are, and I don't know this for a fact, but my thought is in a cafeteria setting with food, perhaps their guidelines may be somewhat different than a classroom. I know the classroom is 3 foot. I'm only guessing, and I can get the clarification from public health, but I'm assuming because of eating, they may be a little more,
I thought it was 6 feet in cafeterias because of eating. I thought I had read that somewhere, but
Okay.
don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But I think,
and they will, yes. I'm quite sure of that, but again, I think the whole quarantine regulation is somewhat of a moving target at this point. That's a good question.
In general, we'll just follow what Washington County Public Health does with their contact tracing and the recommendations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's my
And
recommendation.
with
to you.
these assigned seats, we'll know who fits 6 foot, 12 foot, 3 foot, whatever it is.
And yes, we are going to space them the best we can at a minimum of 3 foot in the cafeteria, which is a little bit of a hardship. I mean, we got to do some adjusting, but we think we can do it.
And just the
Yeah.
mask, if children are not in the building, adults don't have to wear masks regardless of their vaccination status.
No, if they're not vaccinated,
They
they
need to.
need to be wearing masks.
Okay.
So adults, if there aren't students in the building, adults who are vaccinated don't have to be masked.
Correct.
Everybody does. If students are.
If students are in the building, everyone has to wear a mask regardless of their vaccination status. If there's no students in the building, unvaccinated adults or workers or whatever, they should be wearing masks. Vaccinated do not have to wear a mask at this point.
Yep. No, and my questions are not at all to nitpick on it in the least.
No,
It
no.
it makes perfect sense that superintendents get together at the BOCES level to, it doesn't make sense for individual boards to be making any of these decisions. Right. I mean, it makes sense for public health department to be weighing in that. So I certainly support that concept without a doubt. And then these details, I ask the questions just so there's clarity for listeners on what the expectations are.
Good questions.
I think I would just comment, the hand hygiene too, is just another simple thing. I think I probably didn't realize that I could improve in that area when this first started. So I think that's a really important piece too. We always think about masks and that the hand hygiene is just something easy that we can do.
And like Bob, this isn't a nitpicking question, but just to be clear, if somebody asked me, if you're in the room and you have 2 teachers who are working and there's no students there, can they be unmasked? Or because there are students somewhere in the building, is it just everybody should stay masked the entire day, even if they're not around students? Just be clear about the expectation.
Right. Everyone will be taking mask breaks.
Okay.
Um,
So that would be a good time to take one.
That
If you were
would-
working with somebody who was vaccinated and you had no kids around, that would be a good time to take a break. Okay,
And if-
that's good.
Yeah, and you want to maintain your separation.
Yes.
I feel comfortable with the plan.
Yeah. Okay. I do too. Bob, any other?
Okay, well, thank you for that. I will send out a letter. We'll clean this document up and we'll post it on our website in the next day or so. I'll send that letter out, probably electronically first day, and then we have information going out from our 2 principals. Very shortly, we'll put a hard copy of that letter. And again, I think it's important for people to understand this is a fluid document, a fluid plan, subject to change as transmission rates in the area change. Thank you. Hopefully, that's our focus.
All right, and then moving on to old business, a discussion about our virtual component of our Board of Education meeting. So seems like we're working out the kinks on getting it done. So are people comfortable with what we're doing and how we're doing it? I am not the techie person.
I mean, I think as
Player,
long as
but-
people can clearly hear us and if somebody needs to be remote like Bob, and we're allowed to, we can communicate with each other, I think that's all we can ask for.
So this particular, are we on WebEx tonight or are we on that other platform?
So tonight, we are on WebEx. The thought was that last time we tried out streaming directly to YouTube, but that there was a strain with, and I'm not a super tech person, I can put it together when someone shows me how to do it, but that there was some type of strain maybe on bandwidth or something bites where because we were streaming to YouTube and WebEx at the same time, so that it was just too much for the system. So we went back to just the way that was working for us before. I think we were all in agreement that the owl cam presented a nice view of the room. We were not able to borrow it again for tonight, but the sound on that, because of the size of this room right now, is not, it's not meant for large rooms with high ceilings. It's meant for a little smaller environments. But we could just continue to use this microphone, which has given us very good sound results. So I think my suggestion would be is if we continue, that we would possibly want to look into getting an owl cam, and that could also be useful in smaller environments. For example, if you were wanting to stream subcommittee meetings or for other reasons. So it might still be useful. I think it gives a nice view of this entire room and the audience as well, if the audience was speaking, but that would be up to the board in terms of whether or not. And I think Bob is a good person to give feedback. So we're going a little old school with just using a little webcam there tonight in terms of the view of the room. So just the board is in view and not, so Mrs. Vera and I are not in view and the audience is not in view. So that would be the difference of not using the owl cam.
So I can see you though, Ms. Adams.
Yes, because I'm logged in as a panelist. So as long as
Exactly.
you are logged in as panelist, you would be able to see us. So that's the other thing is maybe thinking about is that, optional or is everyone going to log in as panelists? I think we thought it especially important tonight because you were remote, so that the board could see you voting to have everybody on a laptop. But I guess if we weren't all here, would you just want to view it, just this room view and not have the panels? I know Bob expressed the thought of keeping the option to be a panelist so that you could view the attendees.
Yeah, I think that's fine. When I can get
And I actually have no preference. For me, it's somewhat distracting because I am a paper and pencil person. So I have it here. Yeah. So I don't mind it either way, as long as I don't have to juggle too many.
I think as long as one of the board members or somebody here is logged on so that we can see the other person, I think that we're fine.
And I think what we could just do is tonight, we just need to know so we send the appropriate links or not. So we would just send everybody a panelist link and then that would be your option, whether or not you wanted to log in as a panelist. And then if you weren't here, you wouldn't be able to log in as a panelist.
Perfect.
That's the,
And
and then,
This seems to be working well.
and once it's
Mm.
recorded, it can be uploaded to
Yes,
YouTube.
yes,
so
we'll
people-
just use the same way we were doing it before. The WebEx will send the host a recording and then we send it and it'll be posted on the website.
And people can join from the website and they can view us.
Yes, they have an attendee link for viewing purposes.
Yeah, I mean, that's how the Spirit is logged in.
So one other thought, even having a laptop in front of you, unless it blocks your view of something else, you don't actually have to have the WebEx pulled up on your screen. So like you could just have a blank screen in front of you, Ann, but the,
Oh, really?
one-
Okay.
there's one thing that I find, I was recollecting back to our last meeting. I didn't really like that we were all sitting in a line. We did that when I first was on the board. We'd always sit in a straight line, and then you're like craning your neck around the superintendent so I can look over at Ann or over at Heidi and Dan. And that's why we went to that U. Now with the camera here, with the main camera, I can see all of you. I wouldn't be able to as well if you're in a U, but I can see, I can see Ann, I can see Dan and Heidi because they have the laptops in front of them in Julie. So, because I think at the end of the day, it's a board meeting. And so I think it's valuable. As a board member, I always felt it was nice to be able to see other board members and be able to look at people and not be looking down a line, craning my neck around 3 people to try to see Dan at the other end.
Especially when I have to turn around and do a head count. So, yeah, you're right about that. So that can be a work in progress too, see if we can't figure out how to.
Yeah, we used to slant that more.
Yeah,
These
you could
two would
slant it.
slant more. And then
Yeah, or just make a tighter, just
Yeah.
make a tighter U, right? I mean, the base of the U is very long.
Yeah,
And
this is not.
And the owl cam would be able to then, the owl cam would gives a 360 of the room, so owl cam would be able to pick all of that up.
Okay.
And then you would also have the individuals on the top. But the main screen, so I think you might be able to see it on Dan's, but the main screen, when someone's talking or speaking, it would be the entire board view, so the
Okay.
sound's coming off, and then each of you individually, the panelists will be across the top. So they would still see you, and right now I'm speaking, you can see me speaking as a
In the
panelist on the top as well. So that owl cam, I think, would just complete kind of that and allow you to set more flexibly. We won't have, it will probably take a little time to get it on order, but in the meantime, we can use this.
And what about sound? Because you were saying.
We can still use it.
Use
So we
this,
can-
but just not. Okay,
Right, we
perfect.
tell WebEx that, we tell the computer that we're going to use that microphone for sound and the owl cam for the video.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sounds good. Any other-
I'm not sure.
Not at all.
I'm learning.
Well, it's fun.
All right, so we will continue along just to use this particular setup and get, so people can see us if they need to, or view us later.
So you would like us to look into the owl cam?
Okay.
Yes.
Any other discussion?
And
I have
now-
a question. Sorry, go ahead, Jackie.
I was just gonna say, so now after, so will we post the meeting like we have been?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Bob, did you have a comment or
Well,
question?
so I had a question about the, public participation, remote public participation. And now maybe that was discussed in more detail at the July meeting. I had trouble, actually, we had a WebEx issue that night, so I missed part of that meeting. But was that, was that discussed at that meeting?
We did talk about.
We did talk a little bit about it, but it seems to be from the Committee on Open Government, they've seemed to say that we need to, as far as that's concerned, go back to the original intent, which is if somebody wanted to speak to the board, they would have to be here in person.
Okay, in that letter you sent today, that's spelled out in that letter?
They do
I didn't
talk about that, yeah.
Okay. Because NISPA, there's something from NISPA that led me to believe something different. So I'll read through that and
Okay.
familiarize myself with that more.
I'm not sure if it has to do with being able to identify the person speaking or how the reason for it, but they did say that we did need to, since the executive order had been, it ran out. that we
Rescinded,
go
yep,
back to the
ran
original
out.
intent of the law, practice.
Yep.
All right, so we will continue to record and stream, and gives us the option for distant attendance, which works out well. That's good. All right, moving on to business affairs. So you don't need action on that plan, as long as you have our
Correct.
consensus, you are good.
Correct, yes.
All right, good.
No action required.
All right, well, very good. All right. Then we will move on to action. Entertain a motion to approve the budget transfers as presented. There's a transfer to cover the salary of the business manager and correct the coding of the band interest payment. Motion by Heidi, second by Jackie. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. We do have our school tax resolution. Mrs. McGregor, our numbers in here, the accurate numbers
They are
that
the
we,
accurate numbers. We just actually had to update them yesterday after. So you'll notice that the chargeback are extremely high this year. It's been 13,000, I don't have from me, over 13,000. Normally it's around 2 to 3, but that is dictated to us by Washington County. They did reduce it by $940 because of the star error in Hebron, but that number is a large number this year. I didn't want to jump around at everybody to go down and meet.
and so I took this off the website, so these are the accurate ones, okay. And so there are 3 resolutions, and we do have to have a roll call for the vote, correct?
You do. I think Gina needs a copy of that as well, because she didn't know she needed to do the actual roll call.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Actually, while we wait for her to do that, maybe we could skip over to some news and notes. Mrs. Vieira, maybe you could
Sure.
share with us what's happening in the elementary?
Sure. So just a couple of things. So put me on camera. A couple of things. Summer school for my students has ended. Thought it was really successful. They went on a few field trips locally. They partnered with Lunch, Learn, and Play. They were there for Water Day. They really had a phenomenal time. It worked really well. And I think it was beneficial for all. It took a while to get acclimated. It was great. It was just a very good experience. Pre-K, we have set up the meet and greet for our parents and our students with Ms. Jen Russo for the 25th and the 30th. The 25th will be in the morning, the 30th will be in the evening, so it's a little easier for parents that are working, so we can make sure we touch base with everybody. Those letters are out. We did our kindergarten screening, which was phenomenal. We had a really good turnout. I think we had maybe 3 students that were unable to make it. And it was a really great day. We also are sending out letters probably next week with our packets and everything that's going out for our Get Acquainted Hour for Tuesday the 7th from 1 to 2 o'clock, the day before school starts, where the kids come in with their parents, they bring their supplies, and they can teach it, they can see where the classroom is. I was told by several parents that was one of the things they missed the most, is not knowing what room in the building that their child was in, that's very difficult for them. So everybody's pretty excited that we're opening up from 1 to 2 o'clock.
Thank you.
Sure, you better be there. We're pretty excited about that. And masks, of course, and safety precautions all in place. And then the last is, the mentors. I know we're approving mentors for the elementary tonight. Our teachers are kind of chomping at the bit and have kind of reached out. Team members have also reached out to our newer teachers and are slowly getting acquainted. And it's been extremely positive. So, and we're all looking forward to our new teacher orientation that we'll be having in Goshen. So,
Thank you.
sure.
When will kids be notified of teachers? I know a lot of parents.
That letter is going out next week.
Okay.
We have our lists, everybody has them, because there was a little bit of, and we're getting an influx of students. This week we had like 8 or 9 new students. So, yeah, we've had quite a few students. Some students that have been homeschooled forever are now coming, so we're really excited about that. There's a couple of families that are doing that. We have a couple new that have moved into the district. So we're pretty excited.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Adams?
Just a few items for the junior, senior high school. So Mrs. Vieira mentioned our new teacher orientation for our teachers and counselors, so that we will be having that next week. So we're excited to welcome everyone in and get them started. We also have our 7th grade orientation on September 1st at 1 o'clock. So we sent out a letter already by US mail and sent an email reminder early on, save the date, and we'll send another reminder out next week. So very excited to meet our new entering class of 7th grade and welcome them. So probably our routine will be a little revised depending on the situation of the building, but it should be a little more traditional than last year. So looking forward to that. Athletics, as we mentioned a little earlier, next week on the 23rd, varsity is starting next week, and modified football is starting next week. Other modified sports are not starting until around the start of school, so it's not too late to sign up. Our modified numbers are looking a little light right now. We'd love to get some more kids to come out for that, and we are in the process of identifying our coaches for modified. They'll be at that special board meeting. We'll have those all set and hopefully ready to bring forward. So we do anticipate having modified coaches and getting our kids back in action. So that will be starting next week. And related to that, our athletic physical, I did send out a letter. Not sure if you saw that. We partnered with Hudson Headwaters this year. And we had talked about that earlier last meeting. So that did come together for us. So we had 2 days this week. We had a good turnout. A few spots open on Monday, but we were completely full on Tuesday. And I think we're all set. We will have another date probably sometime, maybe October-ish, to get ready, or anybody who didn't get in physical, and these went for winter sports and or spring, and then depending on our need before spring sports. But we may have most of our athletes through, or by then they have gone to their family physician. And then we plan on getting back on track and schedule. Normally, we would have our partnership with our school physician for physicals in May. So hopefully we will be able to get back on that, so we're not rushing at the last minute. So obviously, with COVID, we weren't able to do that. It was a little up in the air what the protocols would be, and we appreciate Hudson Headwaters for partnering with us. And it was, I think our families found it very positive and made a new connection for healthcare in the community too. So I think it's worked nicely. And that's pretty much all we have. Our schedules will be going out. We'll be sending out the welcome back letter and some paperwork next week, but our schedules will go out separately. Just with making this adjustment with the lunches, we just need a little more time just to kind of get things going. That should be done no later than next week. I am going to refer to that in the letter. But no later than Monday the 30th, they should be in the mail. But we like to have them right before they go out, so we don't have a lot of kids standing in line. So, but we think everything else should be all set, just making that lunch adjustment so we can have more reasonable numbers in the cafeteria.
Thank you.
And August 26th is new teacher orientation, correct?
Yes.
8:30 a.m.
Did you have any news and notes that you would like to share?
I don't believe so. I think I shared all my, yes,
All right.
that's it.
Yeah, we're going. Did you have?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing before you go over the tax thing.
Oh, okay.
We did follow suit with our local districts, and that we will not be having any in-person tax payments. We will have a box outside the front door that we'll be checking daily, several times a day, so they can only be mailed or dropped off just like our daily districts. And as you know, Glens Falls down to stop taking payments last year, and that was still their situation. Just in case anybody hears anything, it is on our website in bold and in red, but we're following suit with our neighboring districts.
So no in-person, but there is a drop-off box, but mailing is
It's fine.
fine. Okay.
I think that's all.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So there are 3 resolutions for the school tax. Make sure, Mrs. McGregor, that I have all the component parts here. Entertain a motion to accept resolution 1, which is be it resolved that the Board of Education retain $623,994 as the undesignated fund balance and apply $593,600 to reduce the tax levy from the fund balance. And actually, it outlines the conditions for the collector of taxes of the Salem Central School Districts in the town of Greenwich, Heber and Jackson, and Salem in the county of Washington, as presented.
So moved.
Heidi?
Second.
Seconded by Jackie. A motion by Heidi, second by Jackie. Any discussion or questions? Gina, do you want to take the
I'll
roll?
do the roll. Ann Dunnigan,
Yes.
Robert Siglowski,
Can you hear it? Bob,
Yes.
can you hear it?
Bob Siglowski,
Yes, still yes.
sorry,
Heidi Kirschner?
yes.
Jacqueline Nolan?
Yep.
Dan Snyder?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Entertain a motion to accept Resolution 2. Therefore, be it resolved that the board fix the equalization tax rates by the towns and confirm the extension of the taxes as they appear on the following described tax roll. This resolution does set the tax rate, the tax warrant, and defines delinquent penalties.
So moved.
Motion by Heidi, second by Dan. Any discussion?
Ann Dunnigan,
Yes.
Robert Siglowski,
Yes.
Heidi Kirschner?
yes.
Jacqueline Nolan?
Yes.
Daniel Snyder?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Entertain a motion that it therefore be resolved that the board fix the equalization tax rates. Oh, wait a minute. Is that the, yeah, it's resolution 3, I'm sorry. Equalized tax rates by the towns and confirms the extension of the taxes as they appear on the following as presented tax roll and directs the tax warrant of this board.
So moved.
Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Jackie. Any discussion?
Ann Dunnigan,
Yes?
Robert Siglowski,
Yes.
Heidi Kirschner? Yes. Jacqueline Nolan?
Yes.
Daniel Snyder?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Those are mouthfuls.
It is.
All right, so we did, thank you for our updates on the news and notes. Was there anybody, did anybody attend a conference in this time? No? And there are committee reports. I know that the equity and policy has not met. Is good communications? Okay, all right, so we'll keep that on. All right, moving on to personnel. If there's no objections, I'd like to combine items A and B into one motion. Entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Lauren Tooley from her position as teacher aide effective August 5th, and Leah Heideland from her position as elementary counselor effective August 10th, 2021.
so moved.
Heidi?
Second.
Motion by Heidi, second by Jackie. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. I wish them the best in their new endeavors.
I guess I do have a quick question Ian, on that. Will exit interviews be offered to those folks?
Yes. Yes. We're still in the process of finalizing exactly how they're going to be done, but we've been having those conversations and I'll be reporting back.
I did share
Perfect.
the template and the questions that we had with Mark, and he did see the ones that we had received at the end of the school year. And we are trying to figure out the best way to initiate that and to come up with that summary report.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Good point. I hadn't thought of that, so be interesting to see their feedback if they give it to us. Thanks, Mary. If there's no objections, I'd like to combine items C through J in one motion.
Does Jackie
Do I have to abstain from C?
You probably should.
Mhm.
Not mandatory, but I would just clean.
All right.
And then combine the rest?
That I will
Do
do
C
C
and then
separate.
combine.
Yes. Entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Jocelyn Nolan as the CSE chairperson effective immediately.
So moved.
Motion by Heidi, second by Dan. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 4-0. Mrs. Nolan abstained. And rolling items D through J into one motion. Entertain a motion to appoint Anna Hernandez as a 5-hour cafeteria worker, Deborah Myers as a cafeteria substitute, Paula Bourgeois, teacher mentor for Tiffany Sleesman, Tara Caligari as teacher mentor for Lacey Bentley, Stacy Parker, teacher mentor for Amy Froelich, Colleen Mavica as teacher mentor for Alexis Keenan, and Valina McLenathan for teacher mentor for Katie Ann Quack. Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Jackie. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. And if there's no objections, I'd like to combine items K through M into one motion. Entertain a motion to appoint Heather Keys as varsity girls soccer coach, Don Parker as varsity boys soccer coach, and Stacy Rich as varsity field hockey coach for the 21-22 school year.
So
Motion by Heidi, second by Dan. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. And this is exciting. We will have an exchange student.
As of right now, yes, we'll make application to see exactly how their student visa will go through, but if the board approves it, we'll sign the paperwork and they'll begin the process. Young man from Italy.
So were there any concerns from the Department of Health that they felt that they'd gone through enough health screenings and whatnot in order to?
Correct. As of right now, there's going to be at least one down in Hoosick Falls. So it's happening.
One baby step towards normalcy, right? All right, entertain a motion that upon recommendation of the interim superintendent, the Board of Education approves the following foreign exchange student as a non-tuition student, the 21-22 school year, Marco Ganeri.
I believe so.
Ganeri. Motion by Dan Snyder,
Second.
second by Jackie. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. We have no policy review at this time and topics for future board meeting. We do have, does Tuesday, the 31st work for people for a special meeting? So we will plan that
6 o'clock.
at 6 o'clock. Is that 6 o'clock on the 31st? Bob, does that work for you?
Yeah, I think so. That works for me.
But for regular meetings, one of the things I know that I'm going to be working on is committee assignments and discussing about what kind of committees with Mark. I think the financial committee would be something that we probably should take a look at. That I think would help us as we move forward. And if I'm going to ask the board to complete the self-evaluation on SuperVal, and then we'll get together and we'll take a look at the results of that evaluation and see where, we stand and how to want to move forward from that. Does anybody else have any other?
do you have a deadline that you want self-evaluation done by?
Is it in there already? It's in there. All set up.
It's all set up. If we could have it done just prior to our next meeting or next.
No, it's fine. I
regular
just want to make
meeting.
sure, because if I don't have a deadline, I'll be like, oh, I'll do it later. And then, okay.
So
By
by our next regular meeting. Then we can set a date from there.
perfect.
Okay. That gives me-
I have a quick question, maybe. So on the committees, I don't think the July meeting, I don't think the video's up. I tried to look for it, and maybe there isn't a video. I guess it's unclear. That was the one that I was unable to connect to, and it wasn't clear to me from the minutes. Did the committees from Did the previous committees carry over? I wasn't sure that there actually was currently anybody on the communications committee. Or did it just carry over, or did you assign people to it?
We have not assigned any committees.
Okay, that was, okay, perfect. That was
No.
my understanding, but then when, I wasn't sure from the communications committee discussion whether that was assigned or carried over. The second
No.
question is potentially, so, and I feel a little out of the loop, I think because of the technical issues we had at that July meeting. But in reading that letter from the Committee on Open Government, I actually would read it to my interpretation would be that if we wanted to let the public talk remotely at these meetings, we could. We don't have to, right? We don't ever have to. Even if they're sitting there, we don't have to. But so maybe that is, we actually, I apologize for not having had time today to read that through yet, but right, it wasn't in our packet, but just what was emailed to us.
No, this was something based on your
My question,
situation.
right?
Yeah, so
Right.
just wanted to make sure.
But reading that, it reads to me that the open meeting law does not prohibit the public body from permitting invited guests to speak or testify using remote access platform. So that we could, if we chose to. I mean, I would be in favor of it. I'm not suggesting we have that discussion right now, but I think the open meeting, so that does actually line up with what NISPA says, is that if the board chooses to, we can. So.
Well, yes, that's true. We can always do more. We can't do less. We can always do more. But that might be something for the new communication committee. Have that discussion. And I have to admit, I did revert right back to the old requirements. And it just that was my comfort level. But if people are interested in doing more than that, I'm certainly open to that. So we could have that can go on as future discussion.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we have more discussion.
Yeah. So, but it's tough to take up board meeting time, so that might be something at a board workshop.
Absolutely, yep.
That we could talk about. Set it as a goal. Work on that. Is there any other topics for future board meeting? And at this time, I'd like to open up to the public again, if there's anybody who has any questions or comments or concerns they'd like to share. Jane?
Jane Bailey. I just carry on with that open government that Bob brought up and that we brought up.
Mhm.
And I get like the original intent reverting back to that, but I know there's also the hybrid open government opinions and stuff that say that once you open up to the public, you can't segregate. Like so if you say to the public, can speak here, I think I've read stuff where it says the public also has to be heard from remote. So I'm liking that you're thinking about looking into that because of how much time, right? You get that. I'm used to staying home, and going home early to be able to speak and to participate. But then, again, that doesn't make sense. The original intent, go back to the original intent. So there seems to be some, this worth pursuing that part would be great. Because I'm one of those that wants to list and stuff. And on a committee meeting, are they all back in, when they come back in public? Because I also did enjoy, now I sound like I need a light. This is the committee meetings. I'm the recorded part. So, but they haven't been.
We haven't had any committee
Okay,
meetings
so
for a while.
So when we start to have them again, they will be virtual options?
We will probably do the same type of thing as we are doing for this meeting.
Okay.
So whatever we decide to do for our regular meetings or special meetings, we would do in committee as well. So right now, we're just streaming it and then uploading it. But if we make the decision to do it differently, then I think it would be all meetings.
Right, there's usually a huge crowd at our communications committee meetings, so
Yeah.
we want to be clear with what the ground is.
No,
we have-
I think we have the.
I was the
policy
policy committee,
committee. We've never had them. Nobody's even logged.
I do have a question for Jane. If you could provide us with anything that that you have read that that says that if we offer public comment to people in-house, that we would have to virtually. That isn't what I've read. I mean, that wasn't in the,
No, that's not true.
We've never done virtual, like, so there's no really government involved.
Right.
Everything executive order.
Mhm.
Right.
But I know that once you open up the public, if you couldn't say, in here, you couldn't say, okay, you're a district member, you can speak, you're not a district member. You can't speak, you can't segregate, or, you can't say somebody gets to speak.
Our council is here if we want to get an
That way you
opinion.
just speak for 1 minute, like you can't, it's what.
I can't hear Jane well, so maybe if somebody could just summarize quickly what, I may have
Yeah, our-
misunderstood what she said before.
Bob,
Well, I just
our
want to
council
understand-
is here if he wants to offer an opinion on,
I just want to understand what Jane said first. though,
Okay.
If I couldn't make out what she was saying.
No, that's good.
I don't think Bob heard you, though, Jane. Because the microphone's on.
The microphone is here.
Is over here.
Oh.
So you're gonna
So you can place reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions on. Remember, you start from the premise that public actually has no right to comment at a meeting. The open meetings law requires the board to carry on its business in public. If you do open meeting up to public comment, it's really not covered by the open meetings law as much as it is covered by the First Amendment. So I have to be careful about restricting people because I don't like their message or whatever. So generally we will have talk for 2 minutes, you can talk for 3 minutes. You have to have a modicum of respect. It can require people to introduce themselves, identify themselves. We can require it to be a topic relevant to the school board. So if somebody wanted to get up and talk about pull out from Afghanistan, you can do that somewhere else, but not in the middle of a board meeting because it has nothing to do with the school. The thing about remote meetings is we can't do remote meetings anymore now that the executive order passed away. So if you are live streaming, it might be difficult for a board to allow public interaction from a remote site now that they're having the meetings in public. And it would be perfectly appropriate in that situation not to have the remote folks be able to participate in the meeting. There's no prohibition on doing that, because that really is just an added way that we're broadcasting the meeting, but the meeting is taking place here. Yes, so the district doesn't have to try to figure out technology to allow it come in from the outside when it's having its meeting.
We can fill in.
Well, I think that all fits with exactly what NISPA said and exactly what that Committee on Open Meeting letter said, was that we don't have to.
correct.
Right. And we can have that further discussion, and we will do it either in committee or at a board workshop, and we can do that. That sounds good. Got it written down.
Still open.
Yes, yes.
So my name is Dayton Maxwell. I think everybody knows me. Just a couple of things. First, want to commend. I have 3 students, 3 kids here in the school. Mr. Doody or Dr. Doody, I'm not sure.
Mr. Doody.
Mr. Doody. So I'm very concerned about their well-being, obviously. As I think about the student body, there's a question that nobody's asking. I just want you maybe to put that in your mind. If we look at everybody, I'm sure a good percentage of them have natural immunity without being vaccinated. So just a thought for you. Just want to put that out there. Because the vaccine seems to be the magic cure-all, but it isn't, obviously, because, big increases and things like that. And I'm kind of passionate about this. There's definitely a point where we as a society and you as leaders have to stop being, we make all our decisions based on fear. The guy in the back there, we consult him so we don't get sued, and I understand it. But I just ask us to be brave as we go forward. And I commend you for getting us back to normalcy. That's the year ago. Great, and that's all. Yeah, so I was trying to bring some practicality and a little bit of gravity to the situation, but we're also afraid, somebody gets sick, somebody, that's it. And maybe I will come next month. But
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment?
Marcy Armstrong. So going back to the reopening again, and these are questions, and I know you don't have to answer questions, but maybe just something to ponder because they might come up as we reopen. So unvaccinated adults have to be masked at all times, even when there's no kids here. I'm wondering how that's going to be monitored and enforced. And do we know the percentage, or can we share the percentage of our staff that is vaccinated?
Not that we're aware of. My understanding informally, it's quite high. That's just informal. And as far as monitoring it, who's vaccinated and who's unvaccinated, the same as it is the honor system at this point.
Any additional question? All right, if that's the case, I will entertain a motion for us to move into executive session for the discussion involving proposed, pending, or current litigation and the discussion of the employment history of a particular person, corporation. Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Jackie. All those in favor? Please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Bob? I didn't think about this. How can we call him on the phone?
You could set up a separate meeting with a separate link if you wanted to.
Can you call somebody or call, I didn't bring a phone, but Heidi has her phone.
It's
When we-
best.
So we can move into executive session? No, action is anticipated
No.
after executive session.
And we'll go over to our kindergarten room. Yeah, where we can tower over the seats.